1,029 subscribers. That number is crazy. It seemed so far away before, but now we're almost to 1,500, only a year and a few months after I started this channel. Thank you all so much. The channel really wouldn't have reached this point if not for you all watching and engaging. It means a lot to me that you guys have been enjoying the videos so far, and I plan to keep delivering more enjoyable content in the future. There isn't really a transit ride in this video, unlike the 529 subscriber special, which doesn't feel like it was that long ago, so the main focus here is really on the Q&A. I tried to gather all the answers to the questions from the various places I asked them, so if I somehow missed yours in this video, I'm happy to answer it in the comments below. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into some questions. First off, from Sammy Marco, we have, what variant of German do you like the most? Bavarian, High German, Swabian, etc. Well, outside of High German, I've had the most exposure to Bavarian or Bayerisch, seeing how I'm studying abroad in Bavaria, so I might have to go with that, even though I may very much struggle in attempting to understand it sometimes. Next up from Teasada, we have, what would you consider a turn-up-and-go service, i.e. how low has to be the frequency that you will look on a timetable before you leave your home? And furthermore, what's your opinion on BRTs? How many buses per hour do you need to get an acceptable BRT service? Or is the idea from the start a thing that shouldn't be a thing for good transit? To just get up and leave to get on a transit route, for me, probably every 5 to 10 minutes at this point is what I would say. Normally, every 10 minutes isn't bad, but when lines of the München U-Bahn are running at 10-minute intervals, I do often check the schedule because of departure and arrival times and connections, and to see if anything is running early or late. As for BRT, I think it's a good concept that really works in some cases. I'd say buses every 10 minutes or better, so at least 6 buses per hour is the absolute minimum. Now, does this mean BRT is better than other types of transit? It depends. Richmond, the state capital of my home state of Virginia, has a BRT system called the Pulse that can have vehicles at absolute capacity. At that point, a BRT route either just needs bigger buses, better frequencies, or just a conversion to a tramway or light rail. But BRT is cheaper, and having BRT is still a net positive for the city, if it's done well, that is. Otherwise, rail transit can be a more effective solution for increasing passenger capacity. Next up, from Gordon Yip 9155, we have another speedrun of the DC Metro. Maybe, there's a good chance I attempt a 4th one in the future, but we'll see. Next up, from Your Average Rail Fan, we have, what made you start making YouTube videos? Ah yes, the quintessential YouTube Q&A question. It's a good one though. It was a combination of watching videos on YouTube about transit, having friends who made videos, and just already being a rail fan. Some of the channels I came across earlier on were perhaps unsurprisingly RM Transit, Trains Are Awesome, Sammy Marco, Classy Whale, and Miles in Transit, among others. And I've been able to collaborate with some of these other channels on videos, which has been pretty great. Just this week, Trains Are Awesome put out a video of Tom and I running Reston's Ribs bus routes together, which is just crazy to think about. A year ago, something like that would have been totally out of the question. And I've shouted both of them out before, but I'll do it again. My longtime friend, Shortline819, we met all the way back in 6th grade gym class of all places, has had his own channel for a while, and him making videos kind of made me realize that I could do the same thing. So a very special thanks to him for being a force for inspiration early on through now. Another friend of mine, Colt Thompson, who I met much later, has also been encouraging throughout the process of making and running the channel. Lastly, I was more of a rail fan and model railroader than a transit enthusiast before starting the channel, which is also kind of crazy to think about. I still am both of those things, but that interest has definitely grown to include transit, largely because of the influence of the DC Metro. It's a cool system that definitely piqued my interest in transit. Next up, from the Gamwolfers, thoughts on the future of Northern Virginia bus transit, specifically the BRT expansion and potential merger. To be honest, I wasn't really super aware that this was happening, but as for the potential merger, I have a mix of thoughts. I think local areas tend to know what's best for local areas, and having an overarching regional authority could compromise that. That being said, you could have regional and local divisions within a regional bus agency. That would probably work fine. So I could see that working. Really, whatever option or combination of options gives us better bus service is probably the best option. A regional fare or transfer agreement system, for example, would be convenient, especially if tied in with WMATA's fare structure. As for BRT, again, better bus service is a good thing. I think NVTA has an interesting concept of a plan for BRT, but I think there's still some obvious flaws. It also might assume more people will take the metro in its current capacity, but the silver line is just way too slow. This topic really deserves its own video, but hopefully I'll make one soon. I apologize for not having a super conclusive answer to this question. There's just a bunch of different potential outcomes and factors that make it hard to say for sure. Next up, we have a question from the Hunger Transit fan. I've asked this of a couple of YouTubers now, and I'll keep the trend going. What's your favorite sandwich? And what's your favorite transit line or lines? Great question. My favorite sandwich is hard to pick. It could either be the tuna salad or Cuban sandwich from Potbelly, which unfortunately doesn't have any locations in Hampton Roads, or Munich for that matter. But there are a ton of them in the DC area. I also like a good country ham and cheese, specifically the one from the cheese shop in Williamsburg, Virginia. Their house sandwich dressing is amazing. None of this is sponsored, by the way. These places just have good sandwiches. But if I'm making a sandwich myself, I'm usually good with tuna salad. I don't need it to be super fancy. As for my favorite transit line, there's definitely more than one. First off, we have Hampton Roads Transit's Elizabeth River Ferry between Norfolk and Portsmouth, Virginia. I've loved that thing from the moment I stepped on board for the first time. In Philadelphia, it has to be the Norristown High-Speed Line. Who doesn't love a good interurban? And speaking of interurbans, I have to mention Munich's Interurbany Tram 25 between Munich and Grunwald. One of the most scenic transit lines I've ridden on has to be the Centovalli Viganese line in Switzerland and Italy, never mind the name of the Swiss operating agency. The Nürnberg U-Bahn U2 is also one of my favorites, mostly because you can just stand in front of some of the driverless trains, and I think that's pretty cool. The cable cars of Zagreb are also amazing too, with phenomenal views as you go up the mountain. The German side of my family being from Saarland, I feel the need to mention the Saarbahn, the city of Saarbrücken's international tram train light rail thingy. The Budapest Metro is also going to get a shout out as well, as Line M1 was super cool and historic to ride. Line M4 was also really cool, if not just for the fact that my mind was completely blown that it has flashing platform lights. Seriously, I haven't seen these since coming to Europe, and they reminded me immediately of the DC Metro. And in all honesty, I've ridden so many different transit lines, I've probably forgotten about some and left them out here. There are just too many good ones to choose from, so these are just some of my favorites. Next up, a question from Ronald Maravilla, 496. Are you going to ride any more WADA buses? And this is the Williamsburg Bus Transit Agency, for those who are unfamiliar. And the answer? Almost certainly. I still want to ride the Orions on the 15. That is definitely on my bucket list for Southern Virginia when I get back there. Next up, from Justizia Prenata, what is your favorite European bus, and what's your favorite private bus company? My favorite European bus company might have to be MAN. They make nice buses, and I got the opportunity to fly down the Autobahn in a historic MAN transit bus from 1980, which was really cool. And in terms of actual models, I seem to be riding a lot of Lion City buses in Munich because we have a lot of them here. We also have a lot of Mercedes-Benz buses, but, really I wasn't expecting to enjoy European buses this much. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gilligs in America. They're really boxy looking, but I think they're fun. But yeah, I have really enjoyed the MAN buses here. My favorite private bus company, at least in terms of operators with their own lines, would probably be, by default, Flixbus. It's the only intercity bus carrier I've ridden, and I had a really good experience with it going from Slovenia to Croatia. Next up, another question from Sammy Marco. What's the thing you like most and least about living and traveling in Europe? I like being able to just go anywhere by bike, walking, or transit. Munich is extremely bikeable, and there are just some days where I barely or even don't use the U-Bahn because I'll ride my bike instead. And with regional trains included in the Deutschland ticket, I can be in other cities like Salzburg and Nürnberg, as well as small towns like Garmisch-Partenkirchen, all in 2 hours or less from central Munich. Day trips are so easy. My least favorite thing about living here, at least as of recently, is probably the lack of air conditioning. I think the German concept of Lüften, where you open the windows to get fresh air inside, is quite nice, except that it doesn't work when your housing unit has no openable windows. So I guess it's just a complaint about my student housing, really. Other than that, it's been great. Next up, a question from Portly Hog 4901. What surprised you the most about living in Europe? I was surprised by how easy it was, meaning I can walk to the grocery store, walk to the bakery, take the U-Bahn somewhere, I can walk there, or if I need to go further, I can just bike or take more transit to where I need to go. Going places isn't nearly as much of a hassle here as it is in the US. Not to mention that getting really good food is also a lot easier here. Even fast food can be pretty good. Shout out to German KFC for actually being really delicious. I go there way too much. Again, not sponsored, I just enjoy some good chicken. Another question from Sammy Marco, and I'm pretty sure he responded to every single time I asked, so thank you, Sammy, for making this video actually have substantially more content than it would otherwise. What will you miss the most when you return to the US? As I just said, German KFC. Just kidding. Probably mostly the bikeability, walkability, transit taking ability, and just overall cohesiveness of cities and towns of so many places here. Also, European ice cream. They do it so much better here, y'all, and it's cheap. I'll miss the German language as well. It's been great to learn it here while being immersed in German culture. I'll also miss the old city charm so many downtowns here have. Marienplatz in Munich is lovely, no matter how touristy it gets when the glockenspiel goes off. Fun fact, it does a separate show at 9 p.m. and very few people know about this one. It's more impressive during the day though. I'll also miss the long weekends and constant holidays. Bavaria adheres to a lot of Catholic holidays, and if you're at all familiar with the Catholic liturgical calendar, you'll know there are a lot of them. So that means extra time for traveling, exploring Munich and Bavaria, and just time to relax and not worry about school. Finally, a question from Brendan4184. Favorite WA Metroine color based solely on the color itself? Well, my favorite color is violet, but there's of course no violet line. And yes, I will argue violet is different than purple. So, I mean, yeah, purple line's not WA, but it's still going to be in the DC area. So, you know what, I'm just going to go with yellow, because yellow looks nice. So, thank you to all y'all who submitted questions. Without them, this video would have been boring and ridiculously short. And thanks again to everyone who has helped the channel grow. It's taken me a lot of places over the past year and some change, even kind of providing me with an objective to get footage and film more content while traveling to new places. Some of my earliest videos focused on Hampton Roads Transit and WMATA, the two agencies I was probably most acquainted with at the time. Since then, I've gotten to explore the transit of many cities in the US and in Europe, and it's been quite the adventure. And let's just say, some of the transit is quite cool, so stay tuned for future videos. And speaking of future videos, there very much exists a massive backlog of content that I haven't gotten edited or released. Couple the fact that it can be harder to edit while traveling, sometimes, with the fact that I film a lot of new content while traveling, videos are simply being filmed faster than they can be released and edited. But I'm still open to suggestions or ideas, if you know of any interesting transit you think I should ride. And don't worry, I'll get stuff edited eventually. So with all that being said, thanks for watching. I couldn't have gotten to this point without y'all, so thanks for all the support. I wish I had more to say, but really some of the best I can offer right now is just a promise that more interesting, fun, exciting videos will be on their way in the near future. So stay tuned. I'll see y'all next week.